Next up, we have a fantastic panel who's going to be talking about building a content engine that attracts new holders and powers NFT project growth. Please give them a warm welcome. Thank you, guys. Thanks. Ooh. Hey, guys. Thanks for joining. Hey.
Somebody responded. I like that.
Yeah, I like that. Look, we've only got 25 minutes, and we've got 5 people who are very passionate, so I'm going to jump straight in with a quick intro. My name is Natasha Wallace. Call me Tash. I work at Brand Tech Group. My background is largely media, digital, and I'm working on onboarding brands and audiences into this space. Over to you.
Man, I can't follow you with that jacket on. Goodness gracious. Hey, guys, my name is Jordache Johnson. I am a digital growth and marketing specialist. I do consulting in the Web3 space, came from the Web2 space, where I help grow and scale multiple 6- and 7-figure digital products and businesses. Now I'm also working on a little side project where I help onboard entrepreneurs from the Web2 to Web3 space as well. Yep.
Hello everyone, my name is Tim and I run a Web3 marketing agency where we help mostly Web3 native companies grow their communities through content and different marketing strategies.
Hi, I'm Garrett and I'm the founder and CTO of Rare Technologies, and we do token gating. Back in the day they called it DRM, Digital Rights Management, now they call it token gating, and we use NFTs as access credentials to unlock things like streaming video.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming out. My name is Amy Suto. I am a freelance copywriter, ghostwriter, storyteller, and I started my career in Hollywood as a TV writer before I jumped into NFT and Web3, and now I work with a variety of NFT collections, metaverse games, Web3 projects, founders, investors, to write anything and everything for the world of Web3.
Nice. Banging panel. Very diverse. So, Amy, I'm going to throw the first question to you. This is a lofty topic, content engines that will drive growth. If you had to give some principles or some success characteristics, what would you say? Where would you want people to focus?
Yeah, the first mistake that most NFT collections and Web3 projects make when it comes to their storytelling is that the brand itself wants to be the hero when that should not be the case. Your holders, your audience, they should be the hero, and you as the brand should be positioned as the mentor figure. And that is like the biggest thing that needs to happen in order to drive engagement and community, because I see time and time again, brands and communities completely lack the focus on the audience and focusing the storytelling around the audience. And so what I really think is really important is for everyone to kind of take a look at how they're positioning their narrative around their holders and their communities in order to encourage that organic growth that will lead to that virality. And so that is something that I think that everybody should be focusing on kind of moving forward into this space.
Yeah, I like it. Garrett?
Certainly, well, we just host the content, you know. It's not, I mean, it's more than data, I guess, but yeah, certainly I think gating it and then having sort of granular access is just at the beginning. So whatever that content is, you know, host it and then basically unlock it in whatever way most engages your audience.
Yeah, what I usually, how I would approach it is, if a project comes and then they ask, so what content should we create? The first step I would do is go, if you have like let's say your company has an info email, what is your community asking you about? Like, are they asking you, what is an NFT? What does your NFT do? Start with that approach in mind, because that's what your audience is trying to understand and what they want to learn about, and build content based around that. And of course, what your audience is interested in will depend on what you're trying to achieve, and then have your community feedback as the core for all of the content that you're creating, because they are the ones that will reshare it, and they are the ones that will actually spread it.
Y'all stealing all the good answers. I like that. No, you know, I would say a couple things. Number one, I agree with what Amy said. I see a lot of projects make the huge mistakes where only thing that's coming out of their social channels is stuff about their project, stuff about them, it's stuff about what their accomplishments are, and it has nothing to do with who their ideal customer is. It has nothing to do with who they are. So I always, when I work with clients, the first thing that I always talk about is you need to understand who you're trying to attract. Who are the ideal people that you're trying to bring into the project? And when you can identify those, and if you already have community members, you can go figure out who are your best community members and start figuring out how do I get more people like that. But once you do that, then you need to start going under, what are their pains? What are their problems? What are the beliefs that you have to shift to get them to believe about you, about the project, about themselves, to get them into your project, right? And that's how you start positioning your project, where it's not, I'm just another NFT. If I understand your pains and specifically what you're struggling with or where you're trying to get to, and I can position our value of our project to that, that's how you start getting people to raise their hand on the digital stage. That's how you get people to say, I want more of that. I don't know what you're doing, but I like it. You're inside my head. I need more of that. And we can create content around there versus what's just going on in your project. That's how you start attracting more people and the more like-minded people you want in your community.
Oh, I love that. And again, I'm just going to pile on to exactly what we've all been saying. But if we start to, we think about the NFT as a mechanic, then we can go, okay, are we wanting to create a distribution mechanic? So then how are we turning community into commodity? How are we leveraging that scale? Are we wanting to create loyalty? So are we thinking about open source IP? Are we thinking about CCO? What is it? Is it a subscription model? Then it's multiverse storytelling, What is it that we're actually trying to do or gain with an NFT? And so my next question really is what can we do in this space that we can't otherwise do with what we've been using for the last 5-10 years? What is it that an NFT and Web3 is bringing that's new, that's exciting? Garrett, I'm going to start with you because I think that's your space.
Yeah.
Right, certainly. Well, not to shout out Bitcoin, but it was the original ledger. And why is an NFT valuable? It's because it's a serial number that can't be taken away from you, I think, right? And everything sort of goes downhill from that, right? Why is it better than Web 2? Well, because you're using this immutable database. It's just, we're kind of at the beginning, we're in this sort of, silly JPEG image era. But as those serial numbers become more and more used, right, in different use cases, unlock things, all sorts of other verticals. I don't know. I think it's just at the beginning, but never lose track that it is superior because it's on this shared database.
Right.
Anyone else?
I think the biggest difference was in the beginning, a lot of companies were struggling a little bit with the risk of the NFT being a security, because security goes under different laws when you started to create an NFT working as a share of a company. But now more and more companies are actually incorporating in different jurisdictions to kind of get around it, and where people are starting to, instead of being scared of being labeled as security, people actually are trying to label themselves more as securities, which is kind of where you could, in a decentralized way, structure a business or structure some a revenue model, or basically build up a virtual business where you don't have to trust all of the other partners in the business. And I think that's kind of one of the areas that we're seeing more growing that is not possible with traditional ways.
I love that. I was in a session here earlier this morning. The guy hit the nail on the head. He was like, the people that are successful in the NFT space are the ones that do not treat the NFTs like a project itself, right? Or as a product itself. It is an extension of what you're already doing with your community. And so when you can look at it from what can we do with this now, it gives us a whole new opportunity to create a deeper relationship with the people that are our raving fans, right? You only need 100, 1,000 raving fans to be able to actually do some amazing things and create amazing impact to this world. So now we have an opportunity with NFTs, with these other technologies that's coming out, to be able to reward them, to be able to give them a whole new experience, to be able to give them opportunities that we've never been able to as business owners, and not NFT holders. I say business owners, because every NFT project is a business. I don't care what you call it a project, it's a business. And we have the opportunity to give our supporters, the people that believe in us, the people that want to support us, the opportunity to have ownership and the opportunity to unlock new experiences they've never been able to unlock before with this technology.
So Tommy D, I was watching him on a panel, and he said this. He's got a project called 100 Partners, and I couldn't disagree with this concept more, that when we have NFTs, scale does not mean the number of people, it means the depth of your relationship. And it goes to exactly what your point is, When you're building content, you can be so much more specific because we're talking to a smaller but more engaged, more passion-rich community of people. We don't necessarily need to think about what's going to scale across Netflix. How do we make sure mass adoption occurs? That's not actually necessary anymore. We can make something that's incredibly meaningful for a portion of the community that we want to engage, and then we amplify that, and it's part of our ecosystem. Amy, I'm going to throw this question to you. So one thing that, taking it back to content, one thing that I've been really fascinated about is how we aren't dimensionalizing the content experience. We're kind of still like hung up on this linear content, it's a film I watch, it's something I read, but there is so much more out there that we can do to make content interesting. This idea of open source game narratives, of mixed reality, I mean, that technology has been around for ages. What can we be doing to create content that suits this audience that we're trying to onboard, which are more tech savvy, which are more tech forward, which are more interested in what we have to say? And how do we generate that return on attention that they deserve?
Definitely. I think part of the fun of Web3 marketing is that there's so much dark arts involved in it in terms of being able to use storytelling in ways that we haven't seen before. Web2 is a lot more stuffy and corporate, whereas Web3 is all about creativity and narratives. And in terms of kind of thinking about your content engine, it's about figuring out what narratives will my audience actually care about, and in what formats can we deliver that to them to get the right people to us. And those narratives can be delivered in so many different ways. I've worked with projects who have their own like AR games. They're turning their Twitter into a narrative, almost like graphic novels. There's so many incredible ways to decide how to reach your ideal audience and tell those stories. But I think where people get lost is that if you're too fragmented and you don't keep that cohesive focus across all of the different kind of pieces of content that you have, your audience is just going to see a bunch of breadcrumbs and not actually be led down the trail to where you want them to go. So that cohesive narrative planning is something that is so important. And in my background, coming from Hollywood and working in kind of the big media empire landscape, I saw that those brands do the big, large-scale things well, but they don't actually kind of focus on like those more intimate experiences that Web3 can deliver. So I think that there's so much that Web3 can learn, both kind of looking at what brands have come before, what movie empires have come before with all the merchandising and everything, but also to do it in a way that is more Web3, which I think is what NFTs is going to power a lot of really creative empires to do.
Tim, any builds on that in terms of how we can elevate the content game in general?
So I think one thing that is important is how you reuse the content and make it fit the platform that you're trying to reach the audience on. And then one example of that is usually if we write, for example, a story, then afterwards we might create a Twitter thread with the same story, and then we might also continue with a YouTube video explaining the same concept. And then, of course, and then it might be divided up into small TikTok videos. So when you have the core ideas of the content that you want to get out, then the next step is, okay, how can you make this suitable for each platform and make sure that you can align it so that the whole community experience is similar on different platforms.
Jordache, anything to add before I go to the next question?
The only thing I'll add, because I agree with exactly what you guys are saying, I think it allows us to be able to, whenever we're talking about content, there's the 3 E's, right? Educate, entertain, or create, or emotion, right? And I think having these different levels of types of content, whether it's written, whether it's visual, whether it's AR, whether it's VR, etc., it allows us to give even a deeper sense of these 3 E's with our consumer. Means it can create a deeper connection for us, right? Which is the point of content, right? Create that connection. And on top of that, I think it also allows us to be able to, to give them the whatever way they prefer to learn, right? That's the key. Some people are very visual. Some people are they like to read, they like to hear, whatever it is. When we can create different experiences and take people along a journey, it just allows them to figure out, oh, that's the point I got drawn into this brand. That's the point I got. We only need them to raise their hand once. And once they're in, then it's us to nurture that relationship.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And just to add on to this, we can't think about Web3 and Web2 separately when we think about content as an engine for growth. We're still getting addressable scale in these Web2 environments. So we have to recognize that they play a role in the ecosystem that we want to build. We can still build for our aspirational audience. We can still build for that Web3 audience. And we can build these incredibly immersive content experiences with everything that we've spoken about today. But we can use that. We can use snippets of that on TikTok. We can use that across a variety of different channels to pull people in. So we meet people on their terms. Now, we've only got 10 minutes left. And so, it would be remiss of us not to think about some of the projects that we thought, damn, they've done that incredibly well from a content perspective. So maybe I'll start here. What's a project that you've seen and you've gone, oh, I wish I thought of that?
That's a good.
Through the content lens, obviously.
Yeah. He was in the crowd. I'm gonna say the NFT 365 podcast. I think his ability to create content, Brian Fanzo, to create content on a daily basis, insane. We need to check his sanity first. But what that allows him to do is he's created a complete library of valuable beginner content for these people to onboard. And you got to understand, like, this is where I see a mistake that happens a lot with projects as well, is everybody's trying to fish from the same pond. Everybody's trying to create content on Twitter or Discord, where everybody that's NFT savvy is at, versus understanding that you can create content there, but you need to start creating content on these other platforms where everybody is in the NFT space is an educator, whether they want to accept it or not. So when you can start creating this content, which Brian's done an excellent job with, he's created that SEO value already, that when the next bull run comes, people that want to come into the space, they're going to go to the platforms they're comfortable with, Google's, YouTube's, TikTok, Instagram, etc. All that is going to already be primed. So if you're not creating content around the educational aspect of this, it may not get traction today, but it's setting you up for success in the future, because every project has to learn how to bring on new people into this space. And I see that happen all the time, where they just want to focus on the NFT Web3 savvy folks. And it's like, that's cute, but if you want to scale, you need to figure out how to bring new people in and do it in an onboarding, educating way that's very easy with less friction. And you can start creating content now. And so going back to what he said, is creating that consistent content. He set himself up for success in the next year to 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, I love that. Even more pertinent with Instagram becoming a marketplace and essentially wallet as gallery, Instagram is there. Tim, what about you? Projects that you thought, they beat me to it.
So some projects that I've seen that I really like what they're doing is that there's a lot of where kind of the community is in charge of the creation of the content, and that's kind of the bigger ones, and that's what Yoga Lab is doing really, really well, where by giving IP to the NFT holder, you allow the community and each individual to create like the marketing around it, and then they build. Different people have done use the IP to create different products. They have created launched completely new brands, and basically what they're doing is they're giving every single person in the community a way of using the main brand to build on top of it. And I think that's very a very powerful thing, because in the beginning it was a lot of people that were trying to protect their IP and all trying to close it down, or they were suing people that were using it and so on. But then they kind of shift the game to let the community create all of the content for them, and I think that's probably the smartest move any brand has done in the NFT industry.
Certainly. Well, I really appreciate the craft of a good NFT. To me, I think it's a whole new medium, and the medium that you paint in is the blockchain, right? And there's certain projects Cyber Brokers say that one's really awesome. They stack layers and then it basically creates the image. Well, all of those individual layers are actually on the blockchain, so you don't have to trust some third-party thing. It's little stuff like that shows off the craft and the care. Because the vast, 99% of NFT projects is just a silly folder full of JSON images that are just somewhere that points there, and it's fine. But people who really understand and care deeply and have craft, I think maybe not now, but in years and decades when that stuff is still on the blockchain and it still works and it's still functional, but historians and archivists will go back and be like, wow, those people really actually understood what they were doing, and I think those things will continue to have value and continue to have more provenance. But just coming from more of the geeky content perspective, look at how people are actually making these things, because there is everybody thinks they're all the same, but they're not all the same. Things are made with much different levels of craft and expertise.
Just got an insight into your mind, because you're already thinking of the archivist. You're already thinking about what people will think of us in 20 years' time. Amy?
Yeah, from a storytelling perspective, I love NFT projects that fly in the face of what's going on and completely kind of subvert expectations. And I think one project that did that so well was Goblin Town, because it came out at a time where everybody was like, utility, 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 roadmap, we need this, we can't just be JPEGs. And Goblin Town was like, we are JPEGs, no utility, no roadmap. We're gonna like throw out these Twitter spaces with all this like weird goblin talk. And everyone was like, yeah. And it's like, I love those like projects that kind of like take the temperature of the time and they're like, how can we subvert this? And I think that that is like such a great storytelling technique of this idea of surprise and subversion. And people love like a good twist. And I think that that happens a lot in the NFT space, where it can feel like, oh, we're just seeing the same project replicated 10 times. Like, how many apes can we make? It's an honest question. And so it's like, I think that anytime that we can take a temperature of what's going on and figure out how to subvert or surprise people, especially NFT collectors who've been in this space for a long time and are kind of used to what is, I think that that's such a great tool.
Yeah, Goblins did a great example of content as experience just by crafting their own font on Twitter. Like, immediately you were like, okay, this is an experience just reading this word. I'm up here wearing a jumper made of fries, a jacket made of fries, which I love. Just a shout out to the Bored and Hungry crew. I think content as an experience is a great example, as you say, Yuga Labs using that IP. A project that I've always thought was really cool is Chain Runners, like that promise around how to, and I'm obsessed with this notion of we can kind of, choose your own adventure experience through gaming. And I just think it's absolutely mad that you can buy this NFT, you can buy into this asset pool, and then you as a holder, as a gamer, as a player of this platform, can then choose how that platform evolves, what those worlds look like. So, again, that content co-building, but doing it in a really unique way. All right, we've got 3.5 minutes, closing remarks. If you wanted this audience here and the forever audience in the video to, what is that one thing that you want them to remember to take away, Amy?
I think that everything should come from a place of story, because anytime that us as humans are taking in story, our brain wraps it differently in our head. Anytime we're hearing a story, we remember it in a different way than somebody who is just kind of talking to us. And so anytime we can bring story into our collections, into Web3, that'll be a lot more accessible for audiences who hear NFT and crypto and just tune out. But if they hear a really good story, they'll forever tune in to you and your project.
Certainly. I would also say on the content side, we are just like super at the beginning of this thing. You write a serial number somewhere, and maybe right now it doesn't do anything, but like technology moves fast. So just certainly watch the space like a hawk, because what NFTs do now has nothing to do with what they will do 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. So by getting in early and just buying some and like being involved in the space, you're super ahead. And really that serial number that you have is the thing that's valuable. And what it does in the future, like unlock things or tell stories, that's all coming. But just, yeah, certainly like, write your name in the blockchain is my advice.
And so I would say that the core thing when creating content is listen to the feedback you get from the community, because they often have very unique insights to what areas that you need to create content in. Sometimes it can be some parts of your project that they don't understand, and then you have to create more content around that. How will you learn about it? By listening, asking, and checking in with your community. And I think that that's a very important part of creating a content machine that you can use to build and grow a Web3 project to becoming like a business.
Love it. I'll say 3 quick things real quick because I see the time. Consistency is the name of the game. Like, it's consistent. Do not worry about quality at this point in time. You're training yourself to create a process, so to consistently create that. Second thing is, it's not all about the content creation, it's also about the content engagement. So as you put content out there, you need to go back and engage with the people that are engaging with that. And then along with what he said, we get real-time feedback with the content. So after 30 days, after 60 days, go back, see what worked, see what didn't work, and treat everything like an experiment, right? Something you may be like, this is never gonna work. That's some of the best stuff that's gonna hit on the content channel. So do not get too caught up with it. Everything's an experiment. And I'll leave the last 45 seconds to you, Tasha.
Nice. So I would say think about what does it enable? Is it enabling a subscription, loyalty? Is it a production studio for you? Is it distribution? Knowing what it will enable your brand will help you augment your content around the community you want to build. And then you have a better understanding of the return of attention that audience is going to get. And that is what I'll leave you with. Thanks, guys. 6 panelists.
Appreciate y'all.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed.
Well done, guys. Thank you for being here.